Alright guys, we've got some leaks surrounding the iPhone 12 notch, and I know you're probably not going to be too happy with it, but I relate on a personal level with the notch in a lot of ways, okay? Because no one asked for the notch, no one wanted the notch in the first place, and people want the notch to go away, and people at least wish the notch would just get smaller and less noticeable, so it wouldn't be in their face all the time. All things I could see people say about my own channel, which is why I'm here to defend the little notch and its purposes and explain why it's not the worst thing in the world that it's still here, and thankfully it seems to be getting a little bit smaller. Let's begin. The hilarious part about this notch design to me is that for years now, people have been saying, ever since the iPhone 10 came out, right, so next year, right, the notch gets smaller, and then it didn't, and they're like, okay, so next year, right, the next year the notch is gonna get smaller, still didn't, so everyone's like, Apple, when the heck are you gonna shrink the notch? And Apple found a way to be like, how can we shrink the notch in such a way that it's barely noticeable, but we can technically say we did it? That's essentially what they did here. The notch seems to be like 10-15% smaller than before, which, you know, I guess at first glance and side-by-side comparisons, yeah, it might appear a little bit smaller. It's essentially exactly how small they needed to make it in order to make the 5.4-inch iPhone, which is definitely happening now. We're seeing references to it in iOS 14 dev beta code, so we can see Apple's allowing people to have the larger icons option in iOS 14 on the smaller 5.8-inch iPhone, and of course, our current size notch would not really work on a 5.4-inch iPhone unless, of course, you shrink it down just a tad and also slim down the side bezels, which this leak seems to be supporting the idea of. It's kind of hard to tell, honestly, because these are just display panels and it doesn't take into account how much thickness is added by those aluminum side brackets. That obviously could make the bezels appear a bit thicker than they do in these leaked images. But on a personal note, I do believe these leaks. You know, they're not coming from me or anything, so you don't have to not believe them, but it does make sense that around this time of the year, the display panels would be getting some movement and would be moving around factories, because this month, July, is when Apple was on track to start mass producing the iPhones, which means that, you know, through the end of July and of course the rest of August, we should be expecting a lot more manufacturing leaks, given as, you know, hundreds of thousands of people are now working on bringing the iPhone 12 to market. It becomes very difficult to keep that stuff a secret, especially when there's so many of you out there that are interested in these subjects and wanting to see more and more of it. It makes sense that we would get these type of display panel leaks around this time of the year, and especially if you look at the hand on that leak right next to the iPhone, it definitely appears small, you know, or this person just has really small hands. Totally possible, you know, Trump leaked this photo himself.
This is a normal size iPhone. In fact, the biggest iPhone, the 12 Pro, whatever, because my hands are huge. Okay, I have some of the biggest hands. You're wrong, Drew. And quite frankly, okay, the home button was better. Much better than the swipe. I think Tim did a terrible job. Okay, I would never say this. These people, they're the ones who are saying this. Okay, folks.
But seeing a normal-sized hand next to this display actually does give you an idea of how small this screen really is. And like I've talked about previously, I think this one could end up being really, really popular because the Android market has kind of ditched the idea of making more small, compact, but still flagship quality phones. And I'm happy to see that the notch is able to shrink because I think everybody in the iPhone 12 lineup gets to benefit from that a little bit. So people buying the 5.4-inch iPhone, the notch is pretty much going to be the same size for you, the same amount of intrusiveness that it was for the 5.8-inch iPhone users, but if you're getting the 6.1-inch iPhone 12s, there's more to choose from. That means that that smaller notch will be less intrusive than before because it's a larger display with thinner bezels, so overall screen-to-body ratio gets better. It improves. It's a little bit, but it does get better, and of course, I would love to see this smaller notch design on the 12 Pro Max, because currently, that's the best screen-to-body ratio you can get with an iPhone, and knowing they're shrinking the notch down a little bit could result in, I know it won't be a drastic difference, but it'll be a difference nonetheless, okay? I'm hoping this means that the notch doesn't cut in as much as before, because kind of going with this more squared off design means that you can push the logic board internal components more to the edge of the phone than before, where everything's curved off. Knowing the iPhones themselves are going to be a little bit thinner while still rocking larger displays is exciting to me, and I think these iPhones, while at first glance may seem somewhat similar on the front, as you hold them and as you use them, they may feel very, very different when it comes to, you know, how they rest in your hand and how the edge of the iPhone feels compared to the way we've had iPhones for years now, with that standard rounded off corner that we've had since the iPhone 6 days. We're finally going to be moving away from that, and it's coming along with some of the biggest and smallest iPhone displays we've seen in a long, long time. And who knows, you know, I'm hoping that because with this updated notch design, which appears to be moving the earpiece up between the metal and the glass, maybe this could result in some improvements to Face ID. You know, if they're still rocking those same sensors but in different orientation, maybe this could allow us to unlock the iPhones in landscape mode or from further away. Or, you know, we've always seen leaks every year saying that Face ID is going to work from more angles now, so it's not 100% for sure happening with this one. But if there are actual changes coming to the notch, why not improve it, right? Why not make it better than before? So anywho, that's what I'm expecting with the iPhone 12 notches this year. Not anything drastic, like it's not half the size, it's not going to be drastically, you know, teardrop notch design, but a little bit smaller for those who need it, and it should be appreciated across the whole lineup. But what do you guys think? Is this disappointing to you? After all the videos of bad news I've made on the iPhone 12, is this one still going to be something we hold on to? Feel free to hit me up over on Twitter, join my Discord, and let me know other similarities you know with Tailosive tech and notches. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you in the next one.